This video is part 3 of the videos I'm doing about corporate theft by free of payments out of my account via direct debit for 5 years. Yes, I repeat, 5 years after I cancelled with them and left them to go to PlusNet. This part, the second part, was the corruption of Bank Santander, who refused to honour their promise under the direct debit guarantee to refund my money. This part is about more corporate corruption. It's corporate stroke parliamentary corruption. This is the corruption and crookedness of the Financial Ombudsman Service, who decided, when I went to them, in favour of Santander in their refusing to refund well over 4 years of payments stolen from me by free. They decided in favour of Santander. Obviously a corrupt setup. This didn't surprise me, because when the crook bank Santander made me have to go to the Financial Ombudsman Service, I knew they were setting me up to spend a lot of time and effort in dealing with the Financial Ombudsman, correspondence, evidence, stuff like that, for nothing. I knew they were setting me up for that, because I knew that these ombudsman services, they're almost all crooked, if not all crooked, all corrupt. I know them already. I know them through the legal ombudsman, and also I've read many reviews on trustpilot.com of different ombudsman services, and the reviews are terrible reviews of many of these ombudsman services. They're all crooked or corrupt. I mean, there's loads of them about the legal ombudsman. I know how appalling the legal ombudsman was. I know that the appallingness of the letter I was sent by Louise Smith, investigator turned ombudswoman. I know the appallingness of the letter. I'm going to do a video one day where I read her letter and break it down. The appallingness of her letter that she sent me when I was already in a terrible state, already suffered years of stress. She sent me an appalling letter where she acted as a spokeswoman for these crooked white solicitors of Geddy and Sons. She actually acted like she was their spokeswoman. She acted like she was their spokeswoman in validating actual fraud committed against me. She validated fraud. She validated abuse. She condoned fraud and condoned abuse, condoned perjury, while ignoring evidence of fraud and perjury that was actually in the evidence, even in the evidence the firm submitted, as well as what was in the evidence I submitted. There was actually evidence of fraud and perjury in there. Actual evidence. Absolutely appalling. So I knew that it was very likely to be a similar result. I mean, why else would a crook European Spanish bank like Santander, and all the English ones are crooked and fraudulent as well, all or most of them. Let's not forget how the big banks, Barclays, Royal Bank of Scotland, National Westminster, now known as NatWest, Lloyds, all these banks have sprung about as a result of African slavery. They're born of African slavery. They're born of the slave trade. They're born of the billions made out of the slave trade. They're all slave trade banks. Let's not forget that. So the English banks are crooked beyond measure. So, and I knew because the legal ombudsman I discovered was 80% by their own admission funded by the Law Society, that is the solicitors. And that absolutely dictated how they behave with complaints against solicitors. I knew because that was the case. I knew it was very much going to be the case, even more the case, that the Financial Ombudsman Service was also funded by the banks. So you have a service, an ombudsman organization that claims to be independent and impartial, being completely funded by those people bring complaints to them about. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Completely funded by them. I instinctively knew they would be funded by them, and I found out that they were funded by them, but I instinctively knew that. No wonder Santander was so happy and quick to send me over to them. I knew just them sending me to the Financial Ombudsman was a form of abuse. I knew that. So I went to this financial. I didn't even want to go to them. I didn't want to go to them. And when someone at my Santander branch uh, told me, well, I can always go to the Financial Ombudsman, if Santander refused to give me back my money that they helped free steal from me. I said to that staff member, I'm sorry, but I already know these ombudsman organizations. I already know that they're corrupt because I have past experience of them. I said that to him months before I actually made the application. And when I applied to them after some, I don't know, maybe a month or so, or some weeks, from the first uh, email I got from this investigator, Amy Morris, she, in her email, as good as told me how she was going to decide, and it was not in my favor. She wasn't going to help me. She told me she was going to decide that it's a contractual dispute between me and the crooked thieves free. It's a contractual dispute. You see, this business of contractual dispute is something, an excuse cooked up by the banks that they can give as an excuse to refuse to refund money taken from people's accounts when they shouldn't be taken from those accounts. It's an excuse cooked up to dodge out of the direct debit guarantee as though it never even existed. Direct debit indemnity means protection from loss, damage, or harm. That's the whole idea of it, because the banks are taking money out of our accounts and giving it to a third party. How is that safe without some sort of guarantee? And the direct debit is not safe. I'm telling you, the direct debit is not safe. I'm advising anyone listening to this to stop paying by direct debit. Find other ways to pay, other ways that don't give these companies and the banks, your bank, direct access to your account to take money out. And now, if money is wrongly taken out, like it was with me, it's theft. It's the bank Santander and Free together. It's theft. These banks are now refusing to give you the money back. They're taking the money out, and when you point out to them that this shouldn't have been done, they refuse to pay you back. They tell you to go to the Financial Ombudsman, knowing that they have already paid off the Financial Ombudsman to the tune of millions of pounds. Yes. High street banks pay the Financial Ombudsman service over £1 million each a year. I'll say it again, over £1 million each a year. The whole thing is utterly corrupt. This is why on trustpilot.com, when I looked before I got a response from this investigator, I saw that 89% of the reviews about the Financial Ombudsman service were 1-star reviews. 1 star. 89%. There's nothing impartial about that. There's nothing impartial about that. There's nothing impartial and independent. They get over £1 million from each high street bank a year. It's the Financial Ombudsman service is a complete fraud. It's completely not worth a customer of banks or insurance companies, other financial elements. It's not worth these customers going to. It's a fraud. It's fake. Your time is wasted. And I'm even going to bill that investigator, Amy Morris, Amy, AMIE. I'm going to bill her for the time I've spent. I'm also going to bill Santander, because they knew when they fobbed me off to the Financial Ombudsman Service, the FOS. They knew what would happen. They knew that. And I'm going, as far as I'm concerned, my money is still stolen by Free, and Santander is still responsible for refunding me. So as far as I'm concerned, I haven't even been to this financial effing ombudsman, and I'm just going to keep going to Santander. I'm going to keep going to Santander. So this investigator, in her first email to me, let's see if I can read what she said. She said, "I've received the information I need to start my investigation. I'll consider everything in detail, but please be aware that when I deliver my outcome, I'll focus on what I consider to be the key points. What I consider to be the key points. If I uphold your complaint and decide that Santander need to take action to put things right, I'll make it clear what they need to do. But as I'm making an impartial judgment about your complaint, that may mean I don't uphold it." That's strange. I would have. What about if you're making an impartial judgment? You might not decide in the bank's favour. What about that? You didn't say that. That may mean I don't uphold it, or that I reach an outcome you don't agree with. Her idea of an impartial judgment is very weird and twisted and false. Because there's lies here, she's saying. My outcome, you notice she says, my outcome, because they're allowed to decide. The investigator is allowed to decide upon according to their own opinion. They're the judge and the jury in this crooked system. My outcome will be based on what I consider fair and reasonable in all the circumstances. I'll read that again. My outcome will be based on what I consider fair and reasonable in all the circumstances. Really? You consider this fair and reasonable? That Santander should be taking money out of my account for 5 years and giving it to Free, and Free is taking that money fraudulently. Free hasn't told Santander he's cancelled. And then when Santander is notified by me, even though it's easily within their power to give me back that money, because they have total control of the direct debit system. It's not Free. They have total control, and they are able to give me back my money and then take it from Free at no cost to them. It's not at cost to them at all. It's not at cost to them. It's such a fraud. You really think that they've been taking money and giving it to Free for over 4 years, because Nationwide was also involved, and Nationwide gave me back the money, 10 months worth of money. You really think that 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 you know that them refusing to give me back my money, which they have full power to do that. They have the power to take the money back from Free and give it to me. They have that power. Like I said, even though staff tried to make out that that it's all to do with Free taking it, the way it works is Santander take the money from my account and put it into their own account. Santander then pay the money they've taken from me to Free out of another account that is between them and Free. So in refunding my money, all Santander need to do is give me back the money in their account that they've taken from me, give me back that money from their account to my account, and the account they have with the direct debit account, because they obviously have a massive direct debit account with these companies. The direct debit account they have with Free, withdraw, take back the money they've given them and into their own account. So Santander don't lose at all. They don't lose at all. So you're telling me that them refusing to refund me my money that has been stolen by Free, even though it doesn't cost them because they get the money back from Free. That's what you consider fair and reasonable in all the circumstances. What a load of rubbish. It's a load of rubbish, she's written. They are allowed to literally write lies and send them to you in an official capacity. They like to hide behind their official capacity, behind the legal fictions they work for. These staff, these crooked staff that work for these crooked organizations and crooked companies. They hide behind their official capacity and the legal fiction. There's a lot of hiding behind legal fictions, corporate fictions. She continues, Amy Morris, it may be helpful to share some insight into how I'll be considering your complaint. The direct debit guarantee protects consumers if there is an error in the payment of a direct debit. For example, if a payment is taken on the wrong date or for an incorrect amount. The guarantee cannot be used to address a contractual dispute. What a load of rubbish. I really want to say bollocks. And then she says, it does seem like you have a contractual dispute with Free. I'll just bring up my view again. So she tells me how she'll be considering my complaint, and then she tells me a pack of lies concocted by the banks to avoid honouring the direct debit guarantee. That basically means the direct debit guarantee isn't worth the paper it's written on. No one should be trusting these banks with direct debit because you can't trust them. Yeah, the direct debit guarantee protects consumers if there is an error in the payment of a direct debit. It does mention error in the direct debit guarantee. For example, if a payment is taken on the wrong date or for an incorrect amount. Who needs protection from that? You protected if a payment is taken on the wrong date. The direct debit guarantee is meant for far more than that. That's nothing. That's not loss. Just if it's taken on the wrong date or for an incorrect amount. She has massively understated the power of the direct debit guarantee. It doesn't say that in the direct debit guarantee. I've read the direct debit guarantee many times. It doesn't say that. If it's taken on the wrong date or for an incorrect amount. That's not a direct debit indemnity, that's rubbish for an incorrect amount. So she didn't mention if it's if a payment is taken and it shouldn't be taken. She said the guarantee cannot be used to address a contractual dispute. It doesn't say that in the direct debit guarantee. It doesn't mention that at all. This is what the banks have concocted. So she's just following the banks. What happened is that when people started claiming under the direct debit guarantee, the banks didn't like that and concocted, obviously with their solicitors, an excuse that because I read somewhere that banks will try to take you down the contractual dispute route and state it's a contractual dispute. My issue is nothing of the kind. It's just an excuse. How can my case be a contractual dispute when the contract I had with Free ended in 2017? These contracts are only for a limited time anyway. After a year or a year and a half or 2 years, they end, even though the phone companies still keep them going. They've ended. But I actually phoned them up and told them I'm leaving. I told them I'm leaving. That's ending the contract. And I took my Free SIM out, stopped using that number, and I put in the number of another company. How can it be a contractual dispute when I haven't had a contract with Free since 2017? It's an effing lie. They contrive this lie and they say if people come to us with a request for direct debit indemnity, we'll just say it's a contractual dispute. We'll just say that. In fact, I even have a quote from a bank. I mean, my bank said it, but I have a quote from another bank that I quoted to this ombudsman investigator. It's here. I don't know what bank it's from, but it's rubbish. They spouted to a customer. And I quote, on this occasion, you mean every occasion, I cannot process your claim and would recommend you contact the direct debit originator. See, this is all fraudulent stuff. You're not supposed to contact the direct debit originator. You're not supposed to contact them to get your money back. It's the bank that took the money from your account and gave it to the direct debit originator. It's the bank. And it's the bank that is authorized to get your money back. It's the bank that controls the account, the direct debit account. It controls the direct debit account that they pay your money into, that belongs to them, and they control the direct debit account that they own that they take money out of and give it to the firm, give it to the company. They have the banks have total control over the direct debit mechanism. Total control. They just seem to like following instructions of the companies. And then when I'm asking for my money back, uh, they're they're choosing to withhold that money. They're choosing to withhold that money, and they're also choosing to refrain from taking back the money from free. You know, so on this occasion, I cannot process your claim and would recommend you contact the direct debit originator. The direct debit guarantee is in place to protect the customer payer if there is an error in the direct debit collection. It does not extend to contractual or legal disputes between a customer and a company. What a load of bollocks. But you can see there that that's a statement from a bank to a customer. It does not extend to contractual or legal disputes between a customer and a company. See, just call it a contractual dispute and use that as an excuse to refuse. And you know, we pay money to the Financial Ombudsman. We pay them a lot of money, so we can trust them to help us out and support us if they go to them. So that is actually from the bank, basically saying the same thing that this Amy Morris of an investigator with the FOS, Financial Ombudsman, said, saying the same thing. They're saying the same thing, singing from the same hymn sheet. And I wrote to her in no uncertain terms, and I quoted that, you know. So that's and I said to her, how can there be a contractual dispute between me and Free when there's no contract and hasn't been a contract since 2017? So just have a look here. Once I read that, I instantly saw what a crook she and her Financial Ombudsman Service Corporation is, because they're a corporation, they're a business. I think they should be a business. They're collecting over 1 million, you know, from banks a year. As soon as I read her email, I could instantly see that she was already telling me that she's going to back the banks that fund her and decide in their favour. And I instantly saw that this Financial Ombudsman service is worthless. Absolutely worthless. It's not meant for me. It's meant for the banks. And I wrote her back. She also even tried to discourage me from continuing with my case, with my complaint. She mentioned another ombudsman organisation, Ombudsman Services, that I could go to about free rather than Santander. And she said, please let me know if you'd still like me to investigate this complaint. What the hell is that? I've taken the time to fill in your forms on your website. I've written an account of my complaint. I provided evidence. And now please let me know if you still like me to investigate this complaint. That's outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous. The banks and the supposedly impartial investigator of the impartial Financial Ombudsman saying the same thing, which is a pack of lies, because the contractual dispute is nowhere in the direct debit guarantee. The term guarantee cannot be used to address a contractual dispute. Excuse me. It's nowhere to be seen in the guarantee. The guarantee is much more robust than that. It's much more robust, as it needs to be, because people need to know that they can trust banks to take money out of their account and give it to companies, and that if money is wrongly taken, they'll give it back. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. That's why that is not in there. This is something the banks added, because this term is in some information about direct debit, but the place where it is not part of the direct debit guarantee. And I've seen the place where she got this from. That place is copyrighted 2011. That basically means that's where they added that it cannot be used to address a contractual dispute. The direct debit system had been going for far longer than 2011. It's been going for far longer than that. It's added. And also this nonsense that has been added is that the direct debit guarantee protects consumers if there is an error in the payment of a direct debit. For example, if a payment is taken on the wrong date or for an incorrect amount. That's nothing. They're saying that that's all error means, if it's taken on the wrong date or for an incorrect amount. Absolute nonsense. That's heavily minimizing it. That's who's going to complain if a payment is taken on the wrong date. Even if it's taken on the wrong date, it was still supposed to be taken. So what protection do you need for that? For an incorrect amount. And an incorrect amount could be a few pounds. You know, the direct debit guarantee is meant for far more than that. Far more. It's absolutely meant in my case. And of course, even if there was no direct debit guarantee in place, these banks if you tell them that a company has fraudulently continued taking money out of your account after you cancelled with them for 5 years, of course they're supposed to jump to your defence. If they're honourable, they're supposed to do that even if there's no guarantee in place. And when I read this, I replied her and I told her, you have absolutely already told me how you're going to decide. And I said, I don't I don't trust your no, let me just see. I'll just see what I said. Okay, I'll read at the beginning of what I said. Or yeah. You have shockingly already told me in your email how you are going to decide my issue, and you won't decide in my favour. This is called managing expectations. This is not the first time I have had the misfortune and horrific experience of having to turn to a so-called ombudsman organisation. In explaining how you will be considering my complaint, you said, the direct debit guarantee protects consumers if there is an error in the payment of a direct debit. For example, if a payment is taken on the wrong date or for an incorrect amount. I then say in block capitals, you have deliberately and fraudulently understated the consumer protection offered by direct debit indemnity. Indemnity means protection from loss, harm, or damage. What loss, harm, or damage is suffered by a payment taken on the wrong date? Error in payment is more than just that or an incorrect amount. So, when I responded to her, she responded and said, I haven't decided yet. Absolute nonsense. She had decided. And when she came, I don't know, maybe a week later or some weeks later, with her decision, some weeks later, that was the decision. What she told me at the beginning, that was the decision. I've told her that I'm not accepting her decision, and Santander still owe me hundreds of pounds that they took from me, and I'm going to pursue them. I even told her that I will go to another city and throw a brick through a Santander shop window in the hope that it will cause them the same amount of damage, say 300, 400 pounds, that they have caused me and cost me. I even said that in there. you know. Uh, that's the corruption of the legal of the financial ombudsman. Uh, this is the sort of behaviour. Anything else I wanted to say? Uh, I also told her that I'm going to act as though I never even went to the financial ombudsman and keep on pursuing Santander by phone and visits to my local branch. I absolutely don't accept that nonsense. You can check out reviews of the Financial Ombudsman Service on trustpilot.com. You can do that as well. Okay, that's enough for now. But this is telling you more about English corruption. 3, Santander, the Financial Ombudsman Service. It's more about English corruption, which I've been suffering from for years with the solicitors and the police. This is more. That's it.